Yes guys, what's going on? It's Ashton here and welcome to episode 1 of my Apex Legends Ranked Skills School. This will be a series where I walk through several different games I play in Ranked and teach you a ton of different skills, tips and tricks to help you become an Apex Predator. Now, if you do go on to enjoy the video or learn something new, make sure to smash like and subscribe to the channel for more regular Apex Legends content. I'm glad to say I'm finally back and will be making more regular videos for you guys on the channel, so make sure to stay tuned and look forward to those. But without further ado, let's jump right into the analysis. Now guys, in this first segment of analysis, we're going to be looking at some of the decision making that myself and my team made early game in some early exchanges just outside of Skulltown and how we managed to get out of this situation alive. Now, we didn't actually manage to pick up any kills or points in this segment, however it was important to analyse because there's a lot of key decision making which happens here and there are several teams in the area, and I just wanted to walk through how exactly we decided to navigate what could have been a very tricky situation to be in. Now, the exchange does start off with us noticing a team coming over the hill from Skulltown, and of course I wanted to check what shields these guys had, so I popped a few shots, and as we can see here, the Gibraltar had purple, so I knew immediately I needed to get my teammate Nacho over to me as soon as possible. Now, that Gibraltar decided to ult me, and clearly these guys weren't interested in fighting us, so I tried to get a few more shots on the Gibraltar here, and on the crack I decided it would be worth pushing up to see if I can finish this guy and make it a 3v2 situation. As you can see, unfortunately I wasn't able to find anyone on this team. They all dipped through the mountain before I could get there, and we decided that it wasn't worth chasing them through there and we would rather go back and hold the compound that we were just in, because of course this is a very good power position to hold, especially while it is inside the zone and we can hear fighting within Skulltown, so we decided to head back and leave that team. It's important to not always chase everyone that you fight, because especially with our shield situation, we would have been in a losing position if they held the choke there. As you can see here, we were very aware of the teams fighting in Skulltown, and we were also aware of who was fighting in Skulltown. As you can see, Pingu and Thomas Lays are in the kill feed there, and we know who these players are. They are some of the top players on Xbox. They're in the top 50. They are very elite players, and when you see people like this, it's important that you have to remember their names. Of course, we've been playing ranked at the highest tier for such a long time now that we know who these people are. We fought them enough times, so especially when we saw the revive here, we knew that we had to go in and fight this while they were potentially still weak. Unfortunately though, I wasn't able to get the damage on Thomas Lays down there, who was with a gold shield, so despite the fact that they had just revived, you have to respect these players and you have to respect what they are capable of, so we decided to back out and heal and potentially gatekeep them by holding this power position here, because we knew they had to come towards us. As you can see here, I swing round to the left to try and get a different angle, just so that they couldn't all pinch us in one position. However, Nacho sees a different team on top of Market Roof, and at this point we know that we could be potentially pinched here by Thomas's team and the team on Market Roof as they started focusing us, and we don't know if the team on the Market Roof is aware that Thomas's team is still coming out of the ring. And as you can see here, they did decide to come through that same choke, which we were waiting for, so we decided to put a few shots because we know who these guys are, we know how good they are. We have to make sure they don't push us and potentially squad wipe us from such a vulnerable position that they're in. However, as you can see here, Nacho was getting shot by the other team on top of Market Roof still, so we make the quick decision to decide to jump and go to the east over here to try and force the team that was on top of Market Roof to fight Thomas's team, which was coming out of the ring. We don't run all the way, we just wanted to get to a safe position here because we know that it was potentially still third partyable if we see some downs on those teams. As you can see here, it worked and they were fighting each other. So we just decided to wait a little bit and see what is happening there, and it is always important to just hold your ground and hold your shots until you know you can walk in and wipe a team. There's absolutely no point rocking up on them while they're mid-fight and everyone is still alive, because you're just throwing yourself into the mixer when you really don't have to do that. We do catch sight of this Pathfinder here who was wandering over to us. We get a couple of shots on him. Unfortunately, I whiff most of my Havoc magazine, so we let him get away and I get cracked here. So we make the decision that we are just going to go round to our right hand side here, and it's not worth us pushing when they're on this high ground position here that we were holding before, especially with the ring coming in only 30 seconds. This isn't our fight, and we just decide it's time to get out and rotate. So quickly going over what we have learned from this segment that we have just watched, most of the decision making that we made in this segment was very important to our game. Now of course we were always aware of our body shields at all times. We were not in the best position in terms of body shields. None of us had Evo shields, and 2 whites and 1 blue is not very good at this stage of the game, so we were being very careful with the fights we were picking. That's why we let the original Gibraltar team go, because we knew that they were in a stronger position than us in terms of loot. Now of course we were also aware of who we were fighting. When we went to push the fight between Thomas Lay's Upingu and the other squad, we knew who they were and we knew that we wanted to fight them when they were at their weakest, so we let them fight. Of course, unfortunately, we were unable to capitalise on that, especially as I whiffed most of my Havoc mag, but the main point is that we pushed them when they were at their weakest. Unfortunately, they were able to get the revive off, but that is when you want to be pushing them, potentially a little bit sooner than we did, but we were losing as well in the process, so we pushed a little bit late. But you always want to be pushing them after they fought, and you want to make sure you know who these people are that you're fighting so that you don't give them a lack of respect. If they are a good team, they could easily still 2v3 you or 3v1 you even if the player is good enough, so make sure you're aware of who you're fighting at all times. That being said, you do not want to be afraid to make the push or make the move when you have to. Even if you know it's a good team that you're pushing, you need to make moves sometimes in the game. You do not want to err on the side of caution all the time, although it's important to be cautious about what you're doing in certain situations, especially when you don't have too much loot. You do want to make those attacking, aggressive pushes when they are necessary, and you cannot waste time in discussing with your team, should we do it, should we not do it. You all have to agree at once, we are going to push this fight. And it is very important because time is of the essence, of course, with these pushes, so make sure that you make the aggressive pushes when you have to, and do not be afraid of losing the RP, because you're not going to gain RP if you do not get the kills and assists at the end of the day. But also make sure that you are mindful of your surroundings when doing this, because there's often times when you will try to third party a fight, and even if you squad wipe this fight, you will get third partied yourself. So as we can see with Nacho on top of the high ground here, he was mindful of his surroundings and he caught the team that was on top of Market Roof when we could all have easily been focusing Thomas Lay's team coming out of the zone, which would have been very easy for us to get pinched. So the fact that he was mindful of his surroundings there really saved us in the long run. Now moving on to the second segment of this game that I'm going to be showing you, we clearly rotated all the way to the wide right side of the map, and as you can see on the top left on the minimap, the ring is pulling heavily to the bottom right hand side of Kings Canyon here, and we know that from this the ring will end in this bottom right hand corner. Now, if you don't know how to predict the ring movements already, there's many videos on YouTube to teach you how to do that, but fortunately for us, we already know how to predict the ring movement. So as you can see here, we took up position in this building, which luckily enough for us was not already claimed by another team. And this is essentially the biggest play that we made all game. Now, looking to take that high ground on Repulsor, as you can see with that Gibby team which was already up there. However, we know because of the way that the ring is pulling, we are actually going to be the ones in the ring at the end of it. So those teams at the high ground of Repulsor, while they're safe now, we actually have the better position in the long run. And as I always say, positioning is so key to winning a game of ranked, so making sure you have that power position at the end of the game is vital, and the earlier you can get it, the better. Now fortunately I was able to get a Mastiff from the care package, which is huge in ranked. You should always take a gold weapon, and as you can see, a team pushes us in the back. Now they are actually being pushed by a team themselves, and they inherently ran into us, so of course they got sandwiched and they got pinched, so that is really unfortunate for them. Now, of course, I noticed that there was a team behind the wall here as I could hear them through my headset, and as you can see here, I make a pretty nice grapple play on this Gibraltar. It was risky, but that is why you need the Mastiff or any gold gun if you find one. It gives you a huge advantage, and I was able to find a better body shield because of it. Now here I'm actually quite split from my team, and although I get a little bit of damage on the Wraith, not as much as I would have liked, I decide to regroup with them because in these big team fights it is vital that you are with your team, and I could have easily been picked off there if I had not been careful. I was however aware that the Wraith was over here on her own, so I make the call with my team to push her together. And as you can see, we managed to wipe her, and luckily she is just a solo. However, the other team that had pushed the original team in the back was still there. I caught this guy with his pants down whilst he was looting a box, which I have no idea why he was doing that in that position, because he definitely knew we were there. His teammate tries to Wraith portal him out. Unfortunately for her, she doesn't realise that we are already on the aggressive push, and we just completely wiped these guys, and the quicker that we did that, the better, and of course we were able to wipe them very, very fast there. We didn't want to draw out a long fight because we risk losing the power position, and that is what we are all saying right now. We need to loot very, very fast, get all of the heals, and get straight back into that building. As you can see again in the top left corner, the ring is pulling heavily towards us, so we know we are absolutely fine in terms of the ring, and it will be landing somewhere on us. And as you can see, we were in the perfect position for this next ring. As you can see here, I'm spraying pretty erratically with no barrel stabilizer with the R9, but that is just to try and get the red Evo shield, and I do manage to get it on this zipping Pathfinder here. But of course, we've become very aware of this team pushing us in the back again. Unfortunately for us, we managed to also realise that there were no other teams on the aggressive push trying to third party this, so we decide as a team that we want to push this team before they're able to feel comfortable and find themselves a position to hold up in and potentially reach the late game. Of course, having a Mastiff in this kind of push is always handy, and if you didn't know already, you should always aim down sights with a Mastiff because it actually tightens the spread of the bullets, which actually makes it do more damage, so make sure you aim down sights with your Mastiff. We make a pretty clean squad wipe on that team that was behind us, and instantly my first thoughts is to go back and reclaim the King building that we were in. That is the King building for the zone. That is the building that we need to be in if we want to win this game. So I let my teammates loot up all of the heals and ammunition while I hold down the building with the Mastiff, just to ensure that we didn't lose that all-important positioning for this final circle. The three key points that I want to talk about for this segment of the game, segment 2, is the fact that we were quick to act when there was a team pushing us or a team up and personal with us. We were quick to dispatch of them and get them out of the game as soon as possible, and this is vitally important. You can't be letting fights drag on longer than they have to, because that always invites a third party, and we definitely did a very good job of just cleaning up these teams as quick as possible. The second most important part of this segment is the fact that we always pushed as a team. Even when I went off on my own for a few seconds, I made sure to go straight back to my team before engaging with the next enemies, and this is a key and vital part of ranked as well, because the sooner that one of your teammates is picked off and it's 2v3, the sooner the whole squad's going to get wiped, and as they say, apes strong together, so make sure you always stay close to your teammates. And lastly, I want to reiterate how important it was that we maintained our strong positioning in the house. Even when we left the house for a few seconds, we made sure to go straight back there and hold it down again. We knew that we could not afford to let another team get anywhere near this house in this part of the gameplay here, so we made sure to always hold it down, and even when we left, we went straight back in there, and at times, even if it was just one person, just to make sure that no teams were invited into the house and could have easily just frozen us outside, kept us in a position of weakness, and we would have easily lost the game if that happened. And lastly here we have the final segment of the game, the end game, with only 4 squads remaining, with Thomas Lay's squads being one of them. And of course the first thing we want to do here is maintain the high ground. So we get on top of the roof. Unfortunately there I wasn't able to steal that kill, but we just want to become aware of where all of the final squads are. Now we know that Thomas Lay's Upingu and their squad is over to the right, and we're also fairly certain at this point that there is a rat solo player on the left. Now At this point we know what we have to do. We have to maintain the high ground on the roof and absolutely freeze out Thomas Lay's team and make sure they cannot push anywhere near our building, because if they get control of this building, we are in a very difficult position. As you can see here, however, we weren't able to maintain the roof. Thomas Lay's team decided to throw the Gibby out on top of us, forcing us inside the house where we have to heal and make sure that we are safe from the Gibby out, and in that time they make a big play and take control of the rooftop. Now this actually puts us in a very difficult situation. If the ring ends outside of the building, we know that we are in a terrible position, because Thomas Lays and his team can easily just maintain the roof, shoot us off of the roof when we have to leave the house to go into the ring, and ultimately we are in a very big weak position here. We lost the high ground and this is exactly where we needed to stay. So at this point we're kind of worried that we might have just thrown the game. Unfortunately there was nothing we could do about the Gibby out. We didn't have a Watson or a Gibraltar of our own to cover us from it, so the only play that we could make there was to retreat inside the house, and they got the position of power, which was the roof in this final zone. We decide to spend the next few minutes that we have before the ring comes in, which as we expected was outside of the house, to decide the exact play that we are going to make in trying to win this match. Now at this point we are absolutely 100% certain that the other team is a solo rat, so we tell our teammate Flexer, this is your job, you have to take out the rat. Me and Nacho decide to come up with a plan of how to take out Thomas Lay's team, which were above us, had gold shields and even red shields I believe. And as you can see here, I decide to go for the Asu nade just to test if I can hit them. Now if you don't know what I mean by an Asu nade, it is a grenade style that I learned from Asu. That's what we call it in our friendship group anyway. It's when you throw it directly in the sky, or just at an angle in the sky to try and make it land on top of an enemy's head, and that is exactly what we do here. I only get 40 damage, but I know that we can hit them with the grenades in this way. So between us we devised a strategy of how exactly we were going to push out of the house without getting absolutely beamed by Thomas and his team above us. So we decided to portal as one way of getting into the ring. Now when you do a portal like this, which is very common in ranked, it is also very key to remember that not everyone on the team has to take this portal. It's often better if 2 or 1 take the portal and the other 2 walk in. It just means that you're a little bit more unpredictable, whereas if all 3 of you pile through the portal at once, the team can just spray at that portal and you're going to get absolutely roasted every single time. So we decided to have the portal there as an option for someone. Now we also decided that Nacho, who had another frag grenade, was going to wait until the last 10 seconds before the ring came in, before throwing another grenade up there to try and damage them and make it so they do not have enough time to heal up before coming into this final ring, to deal some big damage to them, make them a little bit weaker and easier for us to take out. Fortunately for us, this frag grenade ended up being absolutely huge. It did over 100 damage to one of them and 50 to the other, and at this point I decided to take the portal, go through and do as much damage as I could on all of them whilst they were damaged and weak. As you can see here, I did a big amount of damage with the R99 and the Mastiff. As you can see here, all of them took the zipline at the same time, which was a bit of a shock, I have to say, but I was able to do some big damage on them with the Mastiff. Maybe not as much as I would have liked, it could have been a lot more, but fortunately for me it was able to get the job done, where 2 of them died to the ring because of the damage that I put into them before they managed to take the zip. Fortunately for me, the Gibraltar on their team also was just jumping on the zip here, and I hit him once with the Mastiff. He fell into the portal, and just like that, all of them died to the ring, and we managed to win in this very tricky situation against one of the elite teams on Xbox. I think the key things to take away from this segment of the gameplay was the unpredictability of us in that final ring. The grenade was an absolutely huge stroke of genius from Nacho to throw up there and do some big damage, and to jump through the portal at that time, hit them while they were weak, and they were absolutely not expecting this to happen, and it managed to get us the win in the end. I also think having the unpredictability of having a few people take the portal and 1 or 2 walk in is absolutely huge in this situation. They weren't able to focus us as a team, and because of that we were able to hit them from several different angles, and they just weren't ready for it. Flex did his job well of taking out the rat, which is exactly what we told him to do, so props to him for taking out this random Watson who was trying to put fences down in the final ring. If it wasn't for him, that Watson could have caused us huge problems, so he did a good job to take her out. But I also think it's really key to take point of the fact that we took our time whilst we were in the house to devise a strategy of how exactly we were going to approach this. We didn't just sit in there and hope for something to happen or just sit twiddling our thumbs. We were constantly talking about different ways in which we could approach this final ring, and fortunately for us, we were able to come up with a strategy which worked perfectly for us and ended up winning us the game. But there you have it, guys. That is the final analysis of this game of Ranked. I hope you have enjoyed, and I hope you can take some of the key points that we have raised in this video and apply them to your own game. As you can see on this end screen here, I've put all of the key points that I made in this video on the end screen, so you can look at them and go back into the video and think where we applied them and how you can apply them to your own game. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel for more regular Apex Legends content. But until next time, guys, it's been your boy Ashton, and I'll see you in the next one. Take it easy and goodbye.